Thank you, Rodney. Yes, I did start off as a sheep and beef farmer living inland from Ruatoria. Spent 25 years of cutting down scrub, and I now oversee planting 150,000 seedlings a year. So it's funny how the world goes. But Ingleby, who is Ingleby? I thought before I get into why we're planting a lot of trees and why we're focused on sustainable farming, we just need to understand a little bit about who Ingleby is. It's an overseas owned company. One lady owns the company. You can see this is slightly out of date. There's now 15,200 hectares in New Zealand, but livestock in New Zealand, 3,000 dairy cows in Tasmania, potatoes, poppies for pharmaceutical, 25,000 ewes, cropping West Australia, 20,000 Angus cattle in Uruguay, 10,000 hectares of cropping Argentina, tropical fruits in Peru, pistachio nuts in the United States, hardwood forests in eastern Romania, broadacre cropping in western Romania, and now in the last 6 or 8 months, 2 farms, one in Latvia, one in Lithuania. So it's a spread out business of about 45 farms, and the head office is in Denmark. And Laura Lindskov has come all the way out from Denmark for the conference. She's involved in sustainability, so what I'm talking about pertains to what she's looking after. Here are the New Zealand farms. We've got 2 farms very near to Pupu in the King Country. Puketiti's 3,600 hectares, one of the bigger farms in the district. Beautiful farm, a lot of bush. Riverlea is an ex-dairy farm. Ingleby pulled the cowshed out, and it's a magnificent finishing farm, 700 hectares. Puketoro, Matahira and Katoa. Puketoro and Matahira are both organic farms. Now that's not without its perils, farming organically. And Katoa is not organic. That's where the animals that have to be dipped or drenched twice wind up going to Katoa. That's up by Te Araroa. It's a finishing farm. BDO in Gisborne, that's our office. So what does Ingleby do? 100,000 hectares worldwide, 1/3 cropping, 1/3 livestock, 1/3 speciality crops. Speciality crops are things like stevia, cacao, tropical fruits, pistachios, organic meat, and eventually honey. Here's the key to why we do what we do. We want to be better farmers. We want to be hands-on farmers. We want to be innovative in what we're doing. We want to farm with integrity, or we want to do everything with integrity. We follow family values. It could be said that we're a corporate farmer, but we don't like the word corporate. For instance, my wages are paid out of support services, not corporate. So it's just an attitude. It's a family farming business. And finally, sustainable. How do we prove that we're sustainable? Laura and her team in Denmark have developed a template, the sustainability template. Every country manager is responsible for that. That records fuel usage, inputs in, outputs produced, accidents on farm to number of hours worked, right down to the number of children and the number of females on our staff. So we want to be able to prove that we are farming sustainably. So just quickly, this is just a quick snapshot. On the East Coast farms, they're isolated, erosion prone, organic, large river system. Where we're going tomorrow, we've fenced off the Wairahara River. That was 56 kilometres, and it involved retiring 700 hectares. out of a farm that's 8,500 hectares. But it's a massive job to retire that river system. In the King Country, much more intensive, usually has a predictable climate, but we have tomos, and we're systematically fencing the tomos off. But that's where the manuka planting in the King Country comes in, because every tomo that gets fenced off gets infilled with manuka.
What's a tomo, please?
It's a hole in the side of the hill or in a gully that goes down 50 metres.
Okay.
So a la Waitomo Caves. Yeah. And there's, not the whole farm has them, but half, I suppose. There's no erosion. We have limestone bluffs, so we have to fence them off. We have small rivers. Now, the main river through Puketiti will involve 8 kilometres of fencing and about 12 hectares as a comparison to here. So for us, this river is going to be planted out, riparian planting into trees for bees, a la what Angus was talking about before lunch. That's quite manageable versus dealing with up the coast. Currently, this is what we're doing right now. We're planting 150,000 seedlings per annum. This next month we'll plant our third lot of trees, manuka seedlings, and roughly 80% of an area identified that needs closed canopy planting will get manuka seedlings, just like forestry, and the other 20% we plant with 5 different varieties of willows, and that's dense planting up a rotten gully, and then we'll come back and in-plant, the following year. So as well as that, we're helicoptering in 10-year-old willow trees, and they're made into beaver dams, so the water can get through, but the debris is trapped. And we'll do some more each year until we think we've got the gully stabilised. Near to that, we're planting trees for bees. In the block we did last year, which is we'll see tomorrow, we planted 4,500 trees for bees. We plan to continue doing that for some number of years, because what we want to do is to be able to provide the bee feed a la the bee calendar. So we don't want to be running around feeding molasses, and we might have to feed some, but that's the plan. We're also identifying where the bee hubs are and how we might best plant that for clean air, but still to protect the bees so they can go about their business as good beekeeping would suggest we should. We're fortunate that on all our farms we've got a lot of gravel. Fulton Hogan have an agreement with us to crush metal for the forestry industry right up at Puketoro. They're crushing about 50,000 metres a year, so it's easy for us to get metal. So we're going to systematically extend our on-farm roads and have all-weather access. Same in the King Country. We've got a limestone quarry over there, and we're doing the same thing. We're at the sale and purchase agreement stage to purchase 300 hives, good quality hives. So we're going to put a toe in the water and become beekeepers. We've recently advertised for a beekeeper, and we're talking to a couple of people about that. So that's a little snapshot of what we're doing, as well as all this planting. We're harvesting 30-something-year-old pine trees up the coast. We're replanting that area, a little bit of manuka for a riparian strip for bees to get to other manuka that's planted previously. Some of it's going into Douglas fir, some of it's going back into pines. We're also planting entranceways, shade and shelter. We have a really big focus on improving all our main entrances, employment employee houses. The strict criteria is tidy farms, is what we want. And then there's shade and water for livestock. And what I haven't really said here is, this is one part of the business. The other part of the business is better fencing, better scales, better fertility, more laneways. And overall, we're shrinking our farms, taking the worst land out, but the actual farming business is no smaller. And in fact, the per head production is better. So I guess I'm fortunate that Ingleby doesn't demand a dividend back to Denmark. They are keen to invest, they're 100-year investors. So at the moment, all of the financial input is being poured back into the form of tree planting, upgrading the farms, and so on. Now the last photo might be a little bit hard to see, but this piece of nasty erosion here, we're going to drive up here, and there's a road just that comes up here, around here, and we're going to stop here in the bus. I included this because 165,000 Mānuka seedlings went in here, and as you can see, that's seriously not a sustainable land use. For the Gisborne people, that's on the Wetia block, and that's halfway up the link road. So our choice here was we could have planted that in pine trees. Now this is the Haltrue forestry, what was part of Huurua some years ago. And this is the Potru block, which was another neighbouring farm, also planted out. We're surrounded by pine trees. And the chairman of the Ingleby Advisory Board said to us one day, minimise the pine trees, maximise alternative species. So that's how I got to thinking about, do we plant gum trees? Do we plant Douglas fir? What do we plant? Do we just plant it all in willows and hold the whole gully together? So that's where the Mānuka / willows came from, plus debris dam planting. And down the bottom here, we've bulldozed a road just up in here. So we've got an all-weather turnaround for the Mānuka, rather the honey site. The bees will be able to go up here empty, come back down full, up that gully likewise. That will be all metalled. And what's the potential, that gully there, that's a bit over 100 hectares there. I don't know. I'm not a beekeeper, I can only guess, but the potential, all I know is we can't sell our meat, organically grown meat with love and attention, as a sustainably produced product when we've got gullies like that. Anyway, you can see just up here by the road, this is 2015's target. So we've got a few more of them, and we still reckon we can take these pieces out of the farm and we'll still have the same livestock. So that's me.